Hello and welcome to Better Body Movement. This class is designed to help you start feeling well.
I have less pain, literally eliminate that pain.
I just feel better.
I can tell that my posture is changing.
Bright light in the day when we've done our workouts online.
Makes me feel so good about myself.
For the low back, we're going to be focused on the quadratus lumborum and the rector spinae. You can see the quadratus lumborum connects from the bottom rib to the ilium as well as each of the vertebrae. Using two lacrosse balls, we're going to focus on the more medial part first with the lacrosse balls touching. Then we will work our way towards the sides. Laying on the ground, place two lacrosse balls touching underneath the low back. Bend your knees and allow yourself to relax in the position. Once the balls are in place, create a pelvic tilt by squeezing your core firm. Then, moving in the opposite direction, press the tailbone into the floor. There should be a slow and controlled movement. Perform 7 to 10 repetitions with the lacrosse balls in the first position. Then, move them out towards the sides. Again, contract firmly with the core, which should press your back into the lacrosse balls. Then, move the opposite direction and press the tailbone down into the floor to create a contraction of the low back muscles. To get even more intensity in the low back, we will place the ball in the low back muscle tissue and then roll onto the ball. To get even more intensity, we're going to work one side of the low back. Place the lacrosse ball under one side and then roll onto the ball. Create a contraction, bringing the knee towards the chest and then extending all the way down to a full relaxation. Remember to keep the chest open towards the ceiling while you create the contraction. Instead of rolling forward, make sure you keep your chest pointed towards the ceiling. Again, perform this contraction sequence 7 to 10 times and then move on to the next tender area. The psoas muscle is also known as the hip flexor. This muscle goes from your lowest rib and each lumbar vertebrae all the way down to the femur. When this muscle gets tight, it's difficult to fully extend when standing out of a chair. This muscle is best released by using a massage stick and focusing on your diaphragmatic breathing. Laying down, we're going to warm up the tissue by rubbing around the obliques between the ribs and the hip. This tissue should get warmed up and you should relax, allowing your fingers to depress into the stomach. We're going to use the massage stick and create pressure midway between the ribs and hips and halfway from the belly button to the side. Take a big diaphragmatic breath in, and as you breathe out, relax and pull the massage stick into the psoas muscle. Hold the pressure and pin that muscle while you try to breathe in through your diaphragm. When you've taken a full breath, release the pressure of the massage stick and relax your breath. Without pressure, take another big breath in and relax. As you relax, push pressure back down into the psoas with the massage stick. Without releasing that pressure, take a big breath, slow and controlled. Once the breath has come all the way in, relax the pressure and relax your breath. Again, breathe in as deep as you can. Relax, apply the pressure, then breathe in, maintaining that pressure. Release the pressure from the massage stick, relaxing your breath. Complete 2 more rounds. Compress the psoas muscle and hold. Take a big breath, maintaining pressure as deep as you possibly can. When you've gotten a full breath, relax and breathe out. Last one. Take a big breath. As you breathe out, press down into the muscle tissue and hold. Take a big breath this time. Hold your breath at the top for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Now, do the same thing on the other side. For the low back, we're going to be focused on the quadratus lumborum and the rector spinae. You can see the quadratus lumborum connects from the bottom rib to the ilium as well as each of the vertebrae. Using 2 lacrosse balls, we're going to focus on the more medial part first with the lacrosse balls touching. Then we will work our way towards the sides. Laying on the ground, place 2 lacrosse balls touching underneath the low back. Bend your knees and allow yourself to relax in the position. Once the balls are in place, create a pelvic tilt by squeezing your core firm. Then, moving in the opposite direction, press the tailbone into the floor. There should be a slow and controlled movement. Perform 7 to 10 repetitions with the lacrosse balls in the first position. Then, move them out towards the sides. Again, contract firmly with the core, which should press your back into the lacrosse balls. Then, move the opposite direction and press the tailbone down into the floor to create a contraction of the low back muscles. To get even more intensity in the low back, we will place the ball in the low back muscle tissue and then roll onto the ball. To get even more intensity, we're going to work one side of the low back. Place the lacrosse ball under one side and then roll onto the ball. Create a contraction, bringing the knee towards the chest and then extending all the way down to a full relaxation. Remember to keep the chest open towards the ceiling while you create the contraction. Instead of rolling forward, make sure you keep your chest pointed towards the ceiling. Again, perform this contraction sequence 7 to 10 times and then move on to the next tender area. The psoas muscle is also known as the hip flexor. This muscle goes from your lowest rib and each lumbar vertebrae all the way down to the femur. When this muscle gets tight, it's difficult to fully extend when standing out of a chair. This muscle is best released by using a massage stick and focusing on your diaphragmatic breathing. Laying down, we're going to warm up the tissue by rubbing around the obliques between the ribs and the hip. This tissue should get warmed up and you should relax, allowing your fingers to depress into the stomach. We're going to use the massage stick and create pressure midway between the ribs and hips and halfway from the belly button to the side. Take a big diaphragmatic breath in, and as you breathe out, relax and pull the massage stick into the psoas muscle. Hold the pressure and pin that muscle while you try to breathe in through your diaphragm. When you've taken a full breath, release the pressure of the massage stick and relax your breath. Without pressure, take another big breath in and relax. As you relax, push pressure back down into the psoas with the massage stick. Without releasing that pressure, take a big breath, slow and controlled. Once the breath has come all the way in, relax the pressure and relax your breath. Again, breathe in as deep as you can. Relax, apply the pressure, then breathe in, maintaining that pressure. Release the pressure from the massage stick, relaxing your breath. Complete 2 more rounds. Compress the psoas muscle and hold. Take a big breath, maintaining pressure as deep as you possibly can. When you've gotten a full breath, relax and breathe out. Last one. Take a big breath. As you breathe out, press down into the muscle tissue and hold. Take a big breath this time. Hold your breath at the top for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Now, do the same thing on the other side.
Good morning. We are set and ready to go. So I am excited because it's Monday, and what better day than that, because we get to start all over in how we move, creating and developing a foundation of our movement, starting with the core. So always my favorite workout, just because it's so important to everything else that we do. So the other workouts are awesome, but this is what sets us and kind of primes us for movement every single day, and especially just primes us for our posture and how we hold our body. So I'm excited to get started with you. Can't wait to put you to work. So remember, if you have not yet, please subscribe below to the channel. It's how we keep everything here free, so that way our programming and everything we've established over the course of 7-8 years, we're able to just give away to you, and then share or tell someone about this workout so they can join in and also experience better body movement in their lives. We'll start with our iDedicates today. Lori and her mom, she's doing dialysis 3 times a week. Ethan in his stage 4 liver and bile duct cancer, just processing life and going through things for him. My friend's wife, who was diagnosed with breast cancer, and they're treating that naturally, so continue to pray for her healing through that natural process. And then Sky Toyne with the bone marrow transplant. She seems to be doing much better. They just posted an update yesterday. I shared part of that update, just what they want prayers for on the Better Body Movement page. So find us on Facebook and pay attention to that. But I also put the link of the Caring Bridge website, so that way you can actually see the update yourself and kind of everything that she's going through and what they've listed out. It's really fun to follow her story and see just what God is doing in her life. But we will continue to pray for her. So they did say the real quick part of it is they think they'll be transitioning her to be able to come home here soon. And I think that's just going to be so beneficial to her mental health and just feeling like some sort of normalcy being brought back into her life. So be praying for that and praying for her through it, okay? Our verse of the day, it is like the precious oil on the head, running down on the beard, and the beard of Aaron, running down on the collar of his robes. Psalm 133:2. Oil was always an anointing, is what was done with it. So it was seen as either a, you think of like King David. He was anointed with oil long before he ever became a king. Samuel went out into the fields and found David actually working among the sheep, the youngest of all the brothers, who would have been the most lowly and worthless, basically. That's why he was shepherding. And he anointed him with oil to signify that eventually he would be of a royal lineage, a royal line, starting things all over. So pretty incredible, the story behind that, but just thinking about the significance of that oil and what that truly means in our lives, and how we are baptized and using that. It's the way of signifying God's anointing. So that's what is kind of cool about God's Word, is it always speaks something true and new into our lives. So absolutely love it. All right, let's get started on our core day. So just find a spot on the ground. Make sure that you have a little bit of room. You're going to need one tool, and that is something to squeeze between your knees. So we use foam rollers.
Pelvic tilt.
If you don't have a foam roller, just grab a pillow, something at home there that you'd be able to use and put in between those knees and create a good tight squeeze, okay? Remember, when we perform a pelvic tilt, okay, this is different than most trainings. Most trainings are going to give you a navel to spine type thing, like a sucking in. That's not what I want. Because we create movement and we create force and torque through our spine, we want to try to create a girdle from the ribs down to the hips. So what that is it's compression. So we're going to force that low back to go into the ground, all without using our butt cheeks. Okay, so if you think you're squeezing your butt together to help kind of roll those hips, stop doing that. Okay, do not use your hips. We just want to create a nice tight pelvic squeeze.
3, 2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with knee fall out.
Awesome. Okay, tilt with knee fall out. So the same kind of tilt. We do want to do a Kegel before we start that tilt, so you create a tight pelvic floor, then compress.
3, 2, 1. Pelvic tilt with knee fall out.
Okay, after you compress, let your knee go out to the side, nice and easy, as low as it can go without your hips moving. So if you go to move your knee out and your hips start to roll on the floor, that you're going too far, okay? And your core is not tight enough. So I want you to squeeze even tighter. Don't let them shift side to side like that. Core compressed, hold firm, firm, firm. Right? Over time, as we create stability back in the core, right? So usually what happens is we have so much mobility in the core that's weak that your hips will start to tighten up to try to make up for some of that weakness in the core. So we want a strong core that's stable, so that way we can increase the mobile part of the joint, right? So the joint being the hip. So everything we do is going to be building stability in the core. Then we can create mobility through those hips.
2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with adduction.
Okay, here we go. Pelvic tilt with adduction. So create a nice, firm core compression. Squeeze those knees, release the knees, then the core.
3, 2, 1. Pelvic tilt with adduction.
Okay, so don't slur your release together, right? Don't let go of the knees and the core at the same time. Do the knees, keep your core, then release your core. Okay, the whole point of this is that you're very distinct between movements. Okay, it doesn't matter how many repetitions you get. What matters is how well you're able to contract your core through each part of the hip movement. Okay, so core tight, all the way through. Okay, doing your absolute best. Your absolute best. Okay, good firm squeeze. Nice and tight. Again, doing your absolute best. Okay, very good. Try to get all the way through.
Three, 2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with knee toward chest. 3, 2, 1. Pelvic tilt with knee toward chest. That's halfway. Three, 2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with bridge.
Good. All right, tilt and bridge. So remember, with the bridge, we're not doing anything with the feet, right? Or not worrying about how the hips are moving. We're worrying about
3,
extension.
2,
Okay,
1.
hip extension.
Pelvic tilt with bridge.
So I want you to compress that core nice and tight. Squeeze your butt cheeks together, and that should start causing a lift. Now, you don't have to lift all the way off the floor. You might only go 1 or 2 inches. That's fine. But when you return to the ground, your hips, low back, and ribs should all hit at the same time, okay? So if your ribs and your hips touch at the same time and your low back is arched up off the ground, that is a problem, okay? So we want to reestablish strength through the midsection, through that core, to create a nice, stable environment for your spine. Okay, we don't want the spine to be doing this, wave-like motion on the way up and down. Okay, your low back should be nice and firm. Very good. Again, butt cheeks tight, just like you were squeezing a penny, trying to make it nice and flat. Okay.
3,
Press
2,
firm.
1. Prepare for shoulder drops.
Okay, shoulder drops. Get set and ready. Okay, again, shoulder blades down and back.
1. Shoulder drop.
Right, so before you even start with the overhead movement, if you need to, you start here with your hands by your sides and then pull your shoulders all the way back to the floor, but then also reach your fingertips down, trying to take your shoulders down the floor. Okay, so get those shoulder blades set down and back. Then we're going to try to go up overhead, right? It's a relax on the way up, or down, I guess, relative to the floor, right? Let the arm go down towards the floor, but then pull the shoulder back down out of your ear. If you finish and that shoulder's hiked up to the ear, we're in a bad position, right? So we want to pull down and back. Okay, this is what gets those shoulders set in place to be able to create a push or a pull. It puts the shoulders in that solid environment where you can actually create some sort of movement.
3, 2, 1. Prepare for dead bug.
Awesome. Okay, get ready for the dead bug. Dead bug or bird dog. So if you know the bird dog, you can do it. If you need an example, we'll do that next round. But this round, we'll go through the dead bug.
2, 1. Dead bug.
Okay, imagine a box between your arms and your upper legs. Okay, you want to extend your opposites, right? Right arm, left leg, left arm, right leg. Okay, do not extend your leg farther than your core can tolerate. You know you've gone too far. Again, if that low back lifts up off the ground, or you need to squeeze your core tight, right? If you're barely moving and your back's already coming off the ground, that's a weakness issue, right? So get that tight. You need to compress your core in order to be able to create that stable environment around your spine. Then your brain can start to say, okay, I can make other muscles work to create the movement, rather than thinking we need to recruit low, deep hip flexor muscles, which in turn is what causes majority of low back pain. Okay, good, good, good. Nice tight squeeze. Firm core compression.
3, 2, 1.
Awesome. Okay, long rest. Okay, we got 2 more rounds. So again, you just do your best through each round, okay? However, I will challenge you, try to lift about 50% of the weight off of your feet during this next round, okay? So we want to really make sure that there's no pressure being pushed down into the floor, that your hips aren't doing any of the work that your core should be doing to brace your spine, okay? So keep that in mind as we go. Remember, there will be a 3, 2, 1. That's just a get set and ready to go. Then we'll have 15 seconds to prepare.
3, 2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Pelvic tilt.
Cool.
Oh, wow. It is really, that is a fantastic thing to see. We used to go all the time and say, oh, we only went once a year before.
Okay.
And he actually helped people with the mask. It was so cool.
That is pretty
it's
awesome.
Because it's really personal, and you're there with all the priests.
Right.
It's really awesome to see.
That's really cool.
That's halfway.
We didn't really know what to do, but it was, big enough church.
Good. Okay, again, remember a little bit of the pressure off of those feet. If your low back pulls up, just like that, if you watch me, boom, you feel the hips roll up, that means your core is not strong enough or tight enough. You want to squeeze firm, firm, firm all the way through it. So only challenge as much as you can actually hold.
2,
okay?
1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with knee fallout.
If we've got an Elvis pelvis, that's a problem.
3, 2, 1. Pelvic tilt with knee fallout.
Good. Okay. Pelvic tilt with knee fallout. So again, recompress that core. Firm squeeze. As your knee goes out to the side, do not let your hips shift on the ground, right? They should not be rolling side to side. If you need to, fingers, what I try to do when I'm doing my core work, I will go thumbs on the outside just a bit, right? And then fingers towards the inside, right? So that way I can check those two muscles comparatively. If I do a good tight core compression, both should be tight. So the thumbs should be tight under there, and the fingers should be tight under there as well. So that makes sure your obliques under your thumbs are firing, and your rectus abdominis under your forefingers are tight, okay? You could do all four fingers.
3, 2,
Not really.
1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with adduction.
All right, tilt with adduction. So again, recompress your core every single time, right? So core tight, make sure you do the Kegel,
3,
compress.
2, 1. Pelvic tilt with adduction.
Okay, after you get your Kegel and compression, squeeze the knees, gently start pulling the knees towards the chest. Hip flexors should fire a little bit, set it back down, release the knees, then release the core. Again, it's not about repetitions, right? This is all about quality of movement. So I need you to really focus on what the core is doing through every single part of the movement. You should not see any sort of change in the core as you squeeze the knees or let go of the knees. As you squeeze them up or in, doesn't matter. Core tight, tight, tight. Actually, the one change that's acceptable is your core squeezes harder. That is always acceptable. Right? So you start pulling those knees towards the chest and you realize, oh man, I need more on my core. Perfect. Get more. Squeeze harder. Compress that core. Right? And a good visual for me, or thought process is, imagine being punched in the stomach. Right? We don't want to be loose and relaxed. We want to compress and hold as if we could actually stop that punch from hurting us. I'm so kind to you guys.
3, 2.
Think about getting beat.
Pelvic tilt with knee toward chest.
Okay, good. Pelvic tilt with knee toward chest. Okay, as you march, the opposite foot should be light. Do not pick up stability in the waist through that opposite foot, right? So the opposite foot should be light, then create that movement back and forth, okay? Good, tight squeeze. Firm compression.
That's halfway.
Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. All the way through. Press, tight, 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 tight. Again, doing your absolute best, okay? And if you need to, take a second, 2 seconds. Let your body really get used to, or make sure your body is really engaged. Okay?
3, 2, 1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with bridge.
We don't want just more crappy movement. I would rather have less quality movement.
3.
Here we go. Good bridge.
1. Pelvic tilt with bridge.
Okay, remember, keep that core compressed like you're trying to make a piece of steel, right? Butt cheeks tight, core should be tight, up and down, right? Think just like if I was lifting one end of a board, right? The whole board leaves the ground except the one pivot point. The pivot point is your shoulders. Drive off the shoulders, set back down. Do not lose the core. If you need to, every time you come back down, recompress the core. See if there's any change. If you can pick up some slack, that means you've lost some of it through the movement. So don't lose that through your movement, right? Keep it compressed. And if you do, okay, try it again. Go through it again. Do your best, right? Because that's what matters, is that you get to a point of challenge and you begin to change because of that challenge. Right? You see it and experience it and know, okay, I didn't do that quite right.
2,
Do it again.
1. Prepare for shoulder drops.
Here we go, shoulder drops. So again, walk those shoulders down, get them all the way down the floor, and keep them there, right? Even as the arms go up, if your arms come up and your shoulders begin to reach,
Shoulder drop.
don't do that. Pull them down and back, right? Again, this is what's pulling your shoulders, right here on the back side of your back, okay? Right through the ribs. That's your lat muscle, pulls the shoulder down. So engage that lat muscle, nice and firm, doing your best. Good core compression again. Even though we're working the arms, we want the core tight.
That's halfway.
The reason I like this one is because one of the compensated movements that we have is trying to make room for our shoulders. If the shoulder joint has some restriction in it, we start to arch the back thinking I can get more movement out of my shoulder, but really it's not. It's just a compensation. The joint's not actually moving. So the more, just like the low back, the more we stabilize the shoulder blade, the better the joint movement will get over time.
2,
Okay?
1. Prepare for dead bug.
Because here's one of the problems with the shoulders. If we stand rolled forward, right? I go to lift my hands, that's as high as I can lift. Anatomically, a bone moves in the way and your shoulder
3,
can't go anymore.
2.
Remember, don't cat or cow
Dead
if you
bug.
do the bird dog, right? The bird dog is all about trying to stabilize your spine through that balancing maneuver, right? So one knee, one hand holding you on the ground, that's really a tough deal. So do your absolute best to try to hold that position, right? So extend out, core compressed, squeeze, nice and tight. Again,
That's
your
halfway.
absolute best. Compress, compress, compress. Good, good, good. Again, go through it again. I think you're about to get kicked in the stomach. Core tight. Compress, compress, compress. Redo it. Redo it. Firm squeeze.
3, 2.
Awesome.
Long rest.
Very good. Okay, long rest. Again, do your absolute best for round 3, but round 3, I'm going to challenge you even more. We're going to try to hover your feet off the ground through every single movement. Try, right? If you cannot maintain quality core compression, go, digress. Go back to where you started. Let your feet be heavy on the floor. That's fine, so long as you're squeezing your core as tight as possible, right? So I would rather keep the core tight than sacrifice the core for a crazy movement, okay? Hopefully that makes sense to you, and then we can get going on round 3 here. Okay, this is just get set up,
2.
back on the floor, set up, ready to go.
For pelvic tilt.
10 seconds, we'll get going on the routine, okay? Last round.
3, 2, 1. Pelvic tilt.
Good pelvic tilt. Nice tight squeeze. Firm compression all the way through. Nice tight squeeze. Shoulder blades down and back. Core compressed. Really tight. Again, I want your absolute
That's
best.
halfway.
Absolute best. Shoulder blades down and back. Firm, firm, firm. Core compressed. Nice and tight. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Really hard. Good. Core compression. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze.
3, 2, 1.
Awesome.
Prepare for pelvic tilt with knee
Very
fall
good.
out.
Okay, tilt with knee fall out. Remember, core compressed, shoulder blades down and back. Squeeze as tight as
3,
you possibly
2,
can.
1. Pelvic tilt with knee fall out.
Again, if you can hover your feet, try, right? Try to hover the feet See if you can get that to go out and in. Remember, with that third point of contact, right, the feet not being on the floor, you might have to restrict your range of motion. Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? It is really, really tough. Try one. See if you can get it. If you can, awesome. Try it again. If you can't, that's okay. Take some of the pressure off the feet. Either way is fine, but that core should stay firing the whole time. Squeeze hard. It just falls. And that's okay. It shows you, so if we try something that's really hard, it shows us a weakness, right? So as soon as we know, oh man, I didn't get that right, that's a weakness. We want to attack that point of weakness and try to build it into a strength. Good, Marsha. I absolutely love it.
1. Prepare for pelvic tilt with adduction.
Okay. Tilt with adduction. So grab that foam roller or a pillow, whatever you need in order to do that exercise.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go.
Pelvic tilt with adduction.
Remember, core compression, so it's that Kegel, core compress, but make sure you're not using your butt cheeks. We're not squeezing together on this one, right? Core, knees, lift the feet, set the feet, release the knees, then release the core. So on the points of lifting the feet, setting the feet, and releasing the knees, you should reiterate core tight, right? Squeeze the knees, core tight. Lift the feet, core tight. Set the feet, core tight. Release the knees, core tight, then release the core. Okay, so that loop, the way you think about it, will change the outcome, right? So you have to force your brain to connect the muscle tissue through all of those contract and relax sequences. Otherwise, you're not going to see a really powerful change, right? Because we need to change the way the brain connects to the muscle tissue. It's not just change the muscle tissue. Firm squeeze, tight, tight, tight. Again, do your absolute best all the way through.
Prepare for pelvic tilt with
Awesome.
knee toward chest.
All right, knee toward chest. So this is the march. Remember, if you're hovering your feet, do not scissor kick your feet simultaneously. Okay, come to a hover.
Pelvic tilt with knee toward chest.
So hover the feet, pull one up nice and easy, set it back down, hover, other foot up, hover, and do not move both simultaneously. Then if you need to, set them down, that's fine, but try it again, right? This is all about how you get the most out of every single exercise, okay? Your best. Squeeze tight, firm, firm, all the way through. Again, doing your absolute best, your absolute best. Squeeze tight, tight, tight. Very good. Challenge through it. Challenge through it. Remember, challenge brings change. That's what we want. We want change. So continue to compress. Core tight. Shoulders down and back. Firm squeeze all the way through.
3, 2,
Very
1.
good.
Prepare for pelvic tilt with bridge.
Awesome. Tilt and bridge. Okay, so core compress. Squeeze your butt cheeks together nice and tight. As you push your feet into the floor, you're lifting everything at once.
1. Pelvic tilt with bridge.
Hips, low back, ribs all leave the floor simultaneously. Core stays tight. You might even check that, at the end of your bridge. So if you only go 1 inch, that's fine, but check your core. Make sure it's tight. Squeeze, firm, firm, firm. Again, doing your absolute best all the way through. Okay? All the way through. Good, good, good. Absolutely love it. Tight butt cheeks. Squeeze firm.
That's halfway.
Compress, compress, compress. Awesome. Very good work. Again, doing your best through it. Compress that core. When you set down to the floor, your back should also be on the floor, right? The low back. If it's arched when you return, re-squeeze that core. Keep it tight all the way through the movement.
3, 2, 1. Prepare for
Awesome.
shoulder drops.
All right, shoulder drops. There's only 2 more. I say only, but I know it's not small, right? We want to work through this really well. So get those shoulders
3,
all the way down and back.
2, 1. Shoulder drop.
Okay, once the shoulders are set and your arms are up to the ceiling, compress the core, right? Do not forget your core. If you're trying to get range of motion out of your shoulder and you're lifting your ribs, right, you're creating core compression on your spine. So that's why we want core tight. Just allow your arm to go through the movement it has, right? You might not get to the floor. That's okay, right? I want to reiterate always, don't push into painful movements. You want to create stability where it should be in order to increase mobility where it should be. So in this instance, shoulder blade should be stable. Then we will increase over time in consistency the mobility of the shoulder joint. Okay? But first we have to get into a stable environment before we could ever train mobility into a joint. That's why we work so hard, right, Marcia? Core and shoulders. Butt, belly, and bra strap. Get them tight.
3, 2,
Good.
1. Prepare for dead bug.
Awesome. All right, dead bug or bird dog. Remember, whichever one you do, think you're getting kicked in the stomach. I'm so kind.
3,
It's nice.
2, 1.
We're so gentle
Dead bug.
around here. Good
I've
core
been doing this
compression.
for a few years now. He hasn't kicked me yet.
It's only metaphorically speaking, right? But core, nice and tight. That's the thought process. Is you should be squeezing as hard as you possibly can. So again, only extend as far as your core can stay tight. If your core loosens up through the extension, you're extending too far, right? So shorten up that extension. Make sure your core stays tight. Over a long period of time, doing this with consistency, that's where we see the biggest change, right? Maintaining a routine, doing it consistently, that is where we will see incredible change in the way that your body feels and moves. But we have to be working towards it. Good compression. Nice work. Almost there. Finish strong, finish strong. Don't quit.
3, 2, 1.
Slave driver.
Long rest.
Very, very good work, ladies. Absolutely wonderful to have you in class today. Remember, we will do our self-massage as soon as we get done here, so that way we can work through some of the low back. Now, today's work with the core compression, everything that we did, partnered with the low back routine, this is absolutely fantastic for your low back health. So the massage work is going to help loosen up those tight muscles that maybe are too tight. And then the strengthening is going to start putting stability where it should be, right? So the two biggest things that I see for low back pain is actually a weak core, which is what we worked on, but then also a tight psoas, and that's the muscle that does hip flexion. So anything that brings your knee up, right? It's a muscle that goes from your ribs all the way down to your femur, right? And when that gets really tight, it wants to hold your back in place, and it kind of keeps you hunched over a little bit until you get moving. So this massage work that we're going to do today will help show you how to actually release that muscle, but listen carefully to the video. If you need to revisit it, which you should every 48 hours until that pain is gone or to be preventative, go into the playlist and continue to work through this, okay? If you enjoyed the workout, please give it a like. Truly appreciate that. And again, subscribe to the channel. It'll help you find the videos easier because every single day, Monday through Friday, we're trying to help you create better body movement. Have a fantastic day. I am here to help you move well so you live well.
For the low back, we're going to be focused on the quadratus lumborum and the rector spinae. You can see the quadratus lumborum connects from the bottom rib to the ilium as well as each of the vertebrae. Using two lacrosse balls, we're going to focus on the more medial part first, with the lacrosse balls touching. Then we will work our way towards the sides. Laying on the ground, place two lacrosse balls touching underneath the low back. Bend your knees and allow yourself to relax in the position. Once the balls are in place, create a pelvic tilt by squeezing your core firm. Then, moving in the opposite direction, press the tailbone into the floor. There should be a slow and controlled movement. Perform 7 to 10 repetitions with the lacrosse balls in the first position. Then move them out towards the sides. Again, contract firmly with the core, which should press your back into the lacrosse balls. Then move the opposite direction and press the tailbone down into the floor to create a contraction of the low back muscles. To get even more intensity in the low back, we will place the ball in the low back muscle tissue and then roll onto the ball. To get even more intensity, we're going to work one side of the low back. Place the lacrosse ball under one side and then roll onto the ball. Create a contraction, bringing the knee towards the chest and then extending all the way down to a full relaxation. Remember to keep the chest open towards the ceiling while you create the contraction. Instead of rolling forward, make sure you keep your chest pointed towards the ceiling. Again, perform this contraction sequence 7 to 10 times and then move on to the next tender area. The psoas muscle is also known as the hip flexor. This muscle goes from your lowest rib and each lumbar vertebrae all the way down to the femur. When this muscle gets tight, it's difficult to fully extend when standing out of a chair. This muscle is best released by using a massage stick and focusing on your diaphragmatic breathing. Laying down, we're going to around the obliques between the ribs and the hip. This tissue should get warmed up and you should relax, allowing your fingers to depress into the stomach. We're going to use the massage stick and create pressure midway between the ribs and hips and halfway from the belly button to the side. Take a big diaphragmatic breath in, and as you breathe out, relax and pull the massage stick into the psoas muscle. Hold the pressure and pin that muscle while you try to breathe in through your diaphragm. When you've taken a full breath, release the pressure of the massage stick and relax your breath. Without pressure, take another big breath in and relax. As you relax, push pressure back down into the psoas with the massage stick. Without releasing that pressure, take a big breath, slow and controlled. Once the breath has come all the way in, relax the pressure and relax your breath. Again, breathe in as deep as you can. Relax, apply the pressure. Then breathe in, maintaining that pressure. Release the pressure from the massage stick, relaxing your breath. Complete 2 more rounds. Compress the psoas muscle and hold. Take a big breath, maintaining pressure as deep as you possibly can. When you've gotten a full breath, relax and breathe out. Last one. Take a big breath. As you breathe out, press down into the muscle tissue and hold. Take a big breath this time. Hold your breath at the top for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Now, do the same thing on the other side.